Dear Vice President, dear Mary McGuinness, Mesdames et Messieurs les députés, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis. Nous sommes rassemblés cette fin de soirée au Parlement européen pour rendre hommage à nos anciens collègues qui nous ont quittés cette dernière année. Nous sommes ici unis par le chagrin de deuil sous le patronage du Parlement européen et j'aimerais remercier la première vice-présidente du Parlement européen, Mary McGuinness, qui représente le président du Parlement européen, Antonio Tajani, de nous honorer de sa présence ainsi que l'ancien président du Parlement européen, Klaus Hensch, qui prononcera l'oraison finale. Et je suis très heureux aussi que l'ancien président Pat Cox est aussi entre nous. Nous rendons hommage à nos collègues accompagnés des familles de Raffaele Baldassare, Gerardo Fernandez Albor, Nicole Fontaine, notre ancienne présidente, de Gerardo Gaibisso et de Sion Trisi, que je salue chaleureusement. This occasion, ladies and gentlemen, is a celebration of life, a time to honor the loved one who has passed and to affirm the bonds of community, memory, and hope that sustain us in sorrow. We are gathered here to pay tribute and to bid farewell to our departed colleagues. It is important that we take the time to pay tribute to their lives. Being a European parliamentarian is no small undertaking. While it is indeed a privilege to serve, each service does not come without many sacrifices, and sacrifices that are most keenly felt by families and friends. This occasion is a time for celebration and gratitude. We join our forces in celebrating all that our colleagues have accomplished, and we thank them for their great guiding example. We are saddened by their departure, but grateful to have known them. May their memory serve always as an inspiration to all of us and to generations to come. It is a pleasure to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the musicians, Victoria Vasilenko, member of Queen Elizabeth's Music Chapel, and Philippe Lambert, whom I have not seen so far, for their participation in our ceremony. It is now my great honor to invite the Vice President, the first Vice President of the European Parliament, Mary McGuinness, to take the floor. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, former presidents, colleagues, families of our deceased members. I think we can all say that music soothes the soul, because in this frenzied house, sometimes we forget to stop and listen and reflect. So for me, it is an honour to be here this evening in what is both a joyous and a sad occasion, but a very important one, because our lives are touched when we work in this Parliament by so many wonderful colleagues, and they pass on. And I think it's so important that we hold their memory and the memory of how they contributed to what is the European Union today. And in doing so, I pick up the lovely words of President Pöttering when he talked about family. And that's why we're honoured to have members of families here with us today. It is important that you are here because you have perhaps made the greatest of sacrifices. You have been at home when the members have been away. You have taken on the struggles of daily life when perhaps those of us who serve in this Parliament are not there. And I suppose those little things are hugely important. And I'm sure the members who have passed on, your family members, recognised that and said it to you when they were with us. Indeed, it's something that I constantly say to my family at home, that without them you could not do this job. And in these moments when politics is a difficult profession, we should reflect on how noble it is too to serve, to be elected, and to have the honour of serving in the European Parliament with all its diversity, with its rich culture and its huge challenges. Sometimes I would love those who have gone before us to pour wisdom down, because we need wisdom in these times in particular, and maybe we should reflect more on what they did when they were here. And also, as I stand here at this very noble and sombre event, to say that the one certainty is that sometime in the future we will be where they are now. And I think that's quite a profound thought. And what it makes me do, and I hope for you as well, it makes us and should make us use the time we have, the precious time we have here, to do the right thing every time we can, and to resist the temptations to be dragged to a place which does not show us at our best in politics. Your family members served here. They made friends here. They had cups of coffee here, and they shared jokes. And I think you should bring those thoughts with you, not just for this evening, but at all times. President Tajani, of course, wants to be here. I'm very pleased that I could step into his shoes at this important moment. And when I came from the bustle of the chamber to the tranquility of this gathering, I'm glad I've had those moments to reflect and consider, and to just pay homage to the work of former members, and to pray for their families, and to think of them at this time, particularly those recently bereaved. But of course, people are bereaved over years and still bear that burden. So it is an honour to be here and a privilege, and I think this is the 11th annual service, and I hope and pray that we will continue to honour our former members in this way, with the music and with this solemn ceremony. Thank you so much.
Je ne vous demande qu'une chose, l'union. Par l'union, vous vaincrez. Étouffez toutes les haines, éloignez tous les ressentiments. Soyez unis, vous serez invincibles. Ainsi s'exprimait Victor Hugo le 5 septembre 1870.
As you have the translation, I will read the original words by Antonio Machado in Spanish. Caminante, son tus huellas el camino y nada más. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Al andar se hace camino y al volver la vista atrás se ve la senda que nunca has de volver a pisar. Caminante, no hay camino, sino estelas en la mar.
Tomorrow, at dawn, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize one day that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever.
Dead friends, as well as dead seasons, relive in you. That you exist is prodigious, but even more so is that I find in you a time that once was. I act in a place that is no longer remote, buried from my willingness to live. Is this good or bad that you have done to me? I don't know.
Gerardo Gaibiso, Iole Parodi, Stefano Zappala, Sean Tracy. Raul Miguel Rosado Fernandez. Nicole Fontaine. Arthur Docuna Oliveira. Gerardo Fernandez Albor. Irene Lambracchi. Rita Borsellino. Jean Zeitlinger. Lars Volin. Kurt Malangre. Ivan Blot. Mari Jepsen. Rafael Baldassare. Mark Killalea. Richie Ryan.
Madam Vice President, dear colleagues and former members, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we honor the members of our Parliament who passed away last year while serving or after serving. While listening in respectful silence to the roll call of their names, we remembered the faces and figures the personalities and projects of our colleagues. They came from different routes and by different roads. They carried with them different aims and ambitions. They inspired us and they irritated us with their different views and visions of our political groups and our parties, of our parliament and of Europe. While constructing Europe, propelling democracy, and promoting peace, we developed amongst us that inspiring spirit of solidarity and friendship for which our Parliament stands. Each of them has left their mark. Each one has made a difference to their families and friends at home and to us in our Parliament. We are mourning our deceased colleagues in the presence of the families of Nicole Fontaine, Gerardo Fernandez Albor, Sean Tracy, Gerardo Gaibisso und Raffaele Baldassar. And former colleagues, you all will understand that as a former president, I keep a special remembrance to Nicole Fontaine. And in the presence of Paul, her husband, and Roman, her grandson, I would like to address a special tribute to her, a very simple one. She was our president from 1999 to 2002, and she was for many years our vice president, who indeed has made an important difference in our Parliament. To her and to all our deceased colleagues who were with us for a part of the now 40 years history of our Parliament and joined us to pave the way for that daring experiment of a Parliament unique anywhere in the world, let me pay tribute by 7 remarks or reflections. The first one is, colleagues, this Parliament is unique. Do we know that? And do we think highly enough about that? I have the impression sometimes we do not. It developed within one generation of politicians, from debating resolutions to deciding on legislation, and from controlling the Commission to electing and co-forming it. This Parliament should not seek to become or to be like the national parliaments. It should not match itself, and it should not accept to be matched against the competences and procedures of national parliaments. It is different, and it must remain different, and we should be proud of that. It is the world's first and unique project towards a trans-state democracy. My second remark. In 8 weeks' time, the citizens in the 27 member states will vote in the 9th European Parliament election. The way they vote will determine whether there will be more or less Europe. That is already important enough. But even more important is that they decide also whether the Union survives or starts to fall apart. It is a 70 years history in Europe of peace, of cooperation, of mutual trust and reliability that is on stake. The European Parliament must continue to reject weariness, apathy, and resignation. It must be a beacon of courage and hope, shining its light on our peoples, on Europe, and on the world. And third, our union, colleagues, does not come from another planet. It was created by very earthbound nation-states. So it is not and cannot be opposed to national identities and interests which are integral to its own identity, but it certainly must be opposed to the systemic new nationalism in Europe. It must hold fast against that new craven refusal to engage in the troubles of negotiations and to to carry the burden of compromise. It must stand against that spineless retreat into the old blind allies of national superiority and singularity. It must go strong against those phony masks of Euroscepticism hiding the smirking face of resentment and racism. My fourth remark. The more global the world becomes, the more European our continent must become. Self-appointed world leaders, whose name I avoid to name here in that context, those self-appointed world leaders do not see in today's Europe a partner, but rather a collection of individual member states from among which they can each choose their allies. This is how they fuel neo-nationalism, neo-nationalist ambitions in our union. Colleagues, it was here, in this Parliament, that François Mitterrand, in his great farewell speech, issued the warning, "Le nationalisme, c'est la guerre." Moving European integration forward and preventing Europe from becoming the playground of foreign powers is our new rationale for peace. Fifth remark. In the middle of the last century, European peoples started to unite against their self-destruction on our continent. And in this, they succeeded up to now. Today, they must stand absolutely united for the greater good of all Europeans in the world, as an example for the world of freedom and the rule of law, of democracy and justice. Sixth remark. We refuse to heed the prophets of downfall, all those princes of dusk and dust. We draw courage from almost 70 years of European integration, from that road to freedom, the rule of law and democracy in Europe, unprecedented in history and freely undertaken in peace. By this, our union has become more European, and that means more difficult. The more our first and principal task is, at this time, to keep the union together,
and defend the rule of law and democracy. And seventh remark, our peoples and we ourselves, having been mandated by them, can always find reasons to criticize the Union, that it does too much or too little, that it is too distant from the citizens or too close to them, that it is not united enough or too much united, that it demands more solidarity and gives less in practice. We must answer to those critics either by changing policies or reforming institutions. But we must absolutely be clear about one thing. There is no mistake, no failure, and no shortcoming which can justify abandoning the Union, leaving it to collapse, or even taking decisions which help to destroy it. The answer to anti-European populism is not pro-European perfectionism, but steadfastness and, yes, love. Yes, we are still standing up. We continue going strong, and we stand holding fast. That is how we pay tribute to our late colleagues in the 40th years of the European elections.